Hello. And what to say? I don't know, honestly. I guess in a lot of ways, what I've noticed within myself, so much of the growth I've had, so much of the enjoyment I've gotten out of each and every single decision I've made has come from me doing something that I trusted myself with. I made that decision, I did that thing, I put in the hours of work, and often with little to no reward. But how funny is it that I get to look back on that and go, yeah, at the time I didn't really think much of it. I didn't really think I learned a lot. I didn't really think I did a whole lot. Yet I, looking back, have. And I suppose that's foresight for you. And just that reflection that I do so often now has significantly helped me. And not just in like being able to reflect, like that's a whole thing in itself, but recognizing the patterns I have and the consistencies that the constant cycles I put myself into. So you know what we do? Well, what I do, I break the cycle, at least best I can, right? So in breaking that cycle, maybe I spent a bit much money today. However, I think it's an important step in the right direction. And I really, really believe that. And that's not just the overall aesthetic, that's not just what I think and what I feel. It's understanding that not only your mindset has to change, but what comes before that is your environment, the things around you, the things you do, the things that keep you in that cycle, just constantly feeding that loop and feeding that loop and feeding that loop, right? And what I found is changing environment, and I don't mean moving locations. I don't mean completely tearing apart your entire, room, but I mean changing some little things that you can recognize, that you can visibly see that are affecting you. Big one for me was playing Siege constantly. So rather than having my computer in my room where I felt comfortable, put in the lounge room, did I still play Siege? Yeah, I did. But I also set boundaries for myself. I went, okay, if this happens, I finish. I uninstall. I do whatever. And that has helped me significantly. Even just doing things around the house, things I wouldn't typically do, but I do find enjoyment out of, so it works for me. So cleaning, doing the dishes, cleaning the bathroom, all of these little things that so many people deem as chores, I look at and go, wow, I get to do that. And I get to do it again and again and again and again and again. But oftentimes people don't see it in that way. It's, oh, I have to do this, and today I got to do that, and then when that's done, and I got this. And yeah, it may work better for you if you think of it in that way. But for me, once I've started, once I'm actively doing something that isn't unproductive, and unproductive and productive is obviously determined by each and every person, but my when I am doing something completely unproductive for myself, it will drastically change the direction I go in that day. I can either go left or I can go right today. I obviously can go any direction today, but left or right. That's how I think of it. It can either be positive, it can be negative. Okay, I did a bunch of negative today, but I did this one positive. I can focus on all that negative, right? I can. Like, there's nothing that stops me from doing that. But if I focus on that positive, that one positive that made me go, okay, and now I go. And then the positives build up and up and up and up and up. Just as you can have a negative spiral loop, you have a positive spiral loop, right? So rather than focusing on those negative, not even just thoughts, but actions, realizing the positive and the amazing things you can really do in the world. And a lot of the time, I see so often everyone complains about everything. Maybe I'm just optimistic. Maybe I'm living in, fairyland, right? But that's silly to me because you're not just being negative about a thing. A lot of the time, those people are negative about nearly everything, at least when I'm around them. Maybe I'm the negative person, I don't know. But the things I notice when it comes to positive and negative energy and the people I'd want to be around, why would I want to be around those negative people, right? And I guess a lot of it just comes down to the actions we take and the consistent thoughts we have. And trust me, I was a negative person for a very, very long time. Negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative speaking. In a lot of ways, I wasn't happy, and I didn't just put it on myself, I put it on the world. And now that I've gotten that time, I've gotten that space to realize it, and I went, rather than just being negative, everything feels negative for me. One positive thing. So my positive, I suppose you could say positive journey, it started by journaling. It started by just saying what I was grateful for. It started by, it didn't start by having positive thoughts. It didn't start by a miracle. I wasn't born this way. And I've put a lot of work in to get to where I am. But how magical. And often I don't even realize the work I've put in. Not every day, not every week. Sometimes it'll stop. Sometimes it could be a month. Sometimes it could be a week. Sometimes it's typically never longer than a month. But I'm always working on doing something. And I've been doing that for years. And I can't explain to you, couldn't begin to explain to you the person I was compared to the person I am now. I guess that's hard. Not because I can't explain it, but the amount of pain I had and the person I was just was not not the right type. But hey, we're all human. We all live, we all learn. And ultimately, I've made better decisions. I've just not only broken addictions, I've not only broken cycles and tried to understand and fully develop the person I am into a better version of me, a person who enjoys the finer things in life. And honestly, I do now, and I know that I could die at any moment. I know that anything could happen. And there's a beauty in that, which has been, I'm taking less for granted. I'm taking more simplicity as beauty. I wake up in the morning before the sun rises rather than being mad, rather than getting upset at myself for not sleeping long enough. I go outside. I look up at the stars, maybe the moon, and maybe it's nearly sunrise. Maybe I just sit outside and I'll just be present. That in itself, for me, has done a lot, honestly. Just the crickets at night, the birds of a morning, grass, trees, fucking wind, everything. There's just so much we, that I didn't acknowledge for a long time. In a lot of ways, being in that hospital bed, it it made a big difference. It really did. But regardless of that, you know, I always have so much to say, and no amount of me speaking will ever truly tell what it means to be me or anyone else. And I have a lot to say. I have a lot to ramble about. I have a lot of opinions, and honestly, maybe I'm uneducated. I'm gonna say maybe. I'm definitely uneducated. But I think there's beauty in that, because that means I have so much to learn and so much more of a skill gap that I get to work towards. Not creating a larger one, but creating a shorter skill gap, or exceeding the skill gap and being in the upper echelons, which I suppose in a lot of ways has always kind of been something I strive for, is being the best. Even if sometimes we fall, and sometimes we fall fucking hard. And honestly, I wish I could chat for hours and hours and hours, and I can. Maybe I should. Maybe I need it. Because often it feels like no one's listening. Anyway, we digress. We move forward. We're planning for the future, and we do our best with what we have. Till next time. It's lovely chatting.